What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Monday Mail Day, and I picked a lot of questions, a lot of Thurman questions. I'm going to jam right through this. One take. You know how I do all day. Easy work. Let's get into it. So, first question comes from Obed Giusti. What do you think about Keith Thurman performed against Collazo? You still think he's a threat to Floyd? Also, named some boxers that really disappointed you. For me, Adrien Broner, Victor Ortiz, Thomas Delorme are a disappointment to the sport. What do you think? Now I'm going to Quentin Tarantino that question and answer the second part first. I agree with your list. I think Broner, he talked a lot of shit versus Porter and didn't deliver, only in the 12th round. Victor Ortiz, that goes without saying. Thomas Delorme, his is a little bit different. I agree he's disappointing because he's not living up to what people thought he was when he was a rising prospect. And then to add to your list, I would say Chavez Jr. because I'm such a fan of his father. And even though he'll never be his father, I think he could have performed in some of his biggest fights, even if he were to lose to Sergio Martinez, even if he were to lose to Fonfara. I think if he was a little bit more disciplined and focused, he could have at least did better and had a better showing in those fights. And, you know what I mean, he has some technique and some skill where I think he could have had better performances. So I would add that to the list. As far as your first question, what do you think about Thurman performed against Collazo? I thought Thurman did pretty good, you know what I mean, aside from the 5th round. But we know boxing and we know the fans, and unfortunately, based on how much he talked before and the statements he made, people expect more of a flawless performance. So I mean, being realistic, he didn't do bad versus Collazo, but people expected that flawless performance based on all of the shit that he talked about. I'm better than Pacquiao, I'm better than Bradley, I'm ready for Mayweather, etc. And that's just the way. The negative, unfortunately, always outweighs the positive. So I don't think his performance was bad. I think there are some things, you got to listen to my post-fight, where I didn't understand. I thought he was moving more than he needed to, and he should have been trying to walk Collazo down when Collazo wasn't really bringing nothing to him. He was just like using some upper body movement, not really throwing any offense. So I didn't understand that as far as the game plan. Other than that, pretty solid. He showed his athleticism and his power is still there. But that 5th round is the black cloud over that win. Next question comes from Noel Gill. Just a comparison, since people want to claim how well Khan did versus Collazo, why did Collazo quit on the stool? I'm sure that's supposed to be stool. You guys got to work on the spelling because I'm having confusion trying to read this. I feel like Mayweather. Quit on the stool versus Thurman. When in the Khan fight, Collazo had the same cut on the eyelid versus Khan in the fight. And that's with Collazo hurting Thurman bad with some momentum. No one wants to point that comparison out. Do you think Khan takes a Thurman fight next if he doesn't get the Floyd fight? And then someone replied, Thurman will chin check Khan. I can't wait to see that fight. I mean, I think the comparison, these triangle theories are unnecessary in the sport of boxing because you'll never make any sense of it looking at boxing. So I don't even feel there's a real need to compare. Yes, to a degree, you want to use it as a barometer, but different times, different training camps, different circumstances. And I told people, Khan and his specialty and his attributes aren't the same as Keith Thurman. So yeah, there's differences. I mean, Manny Pacquiao blasted Chris Algieri, and then Khan struggled with Chris Algieri. Same thing with Collazo. Collazo hurt, it seemed, Keith Thurman more than he hurt Amir Khan, and Amir Khan had the 3 knockdowns. And as I said in the previous question, I think Keith Thurman puts a lot of that pressure on himself because he's Mr. KOs for life and he's saying this and that. And he even did an interview, I don't know if some of you guys remember, try to put the link in the description, where he said this. It was on, since he was fighting on the Khan Alexander undercard, Keith Thurman said, I think Amir Khan is a cherry picker because he fought Collazo, washed up Collazo. Who's he beat at welterweight? He's not a true welterweight. So basically, he said Khan was a bum for picking up a washed up fighter. Fast forward to July, you fought the guy you just said was washed up. So, I mean, I don't agree with triangle theories, but again, Keith Thurman put some of that pressure on himself by over speaking and making comments like that. Then people are going to expect, like I said in the first question, a flawless performance. You said Khan had at least had 3 knockdowns. You had no knockdowns, and he quit on the stool or whatever. So, again, it just goes with the territory. People like to compare and use different fights as a barometer. Like, oh, Marquez did this versus Pacquiao, but Mayweather didn't knock him out. You know what I mean? It just comes with the territory. But again, I think Keith Thurman put some of that unfair pressure on himself even more by his demeanor. People expect that perfect performance, and the fact that Collazo was able to, it appeared, hurt him more than he was able to hurt Khan. It just that's what's the disdain on the fans' brain. That's what they remember. Next question from Andres Solitero. What up, Boxing Ego? 2 questions. Number 1, would Thurman become more of an elite fighter if he changed head trainers, maybe brought in a guy like John David Jackson? I would recommend John David Jackson for anybody. He's a good trainer. I like his work with Sergey Kovalev. I liked his work with Chris Algieri, very first fight with Amir Khan. So, I mean, that's not a bad idea, but I think Keith Thurman, after Ben Getty passed away, he's kind of in that role where this is the guy, Dan Birmingham's the guy that's been with him so long, and it's more of a loyalty thing. So I think John David Jackson could be a good fit because you see how he's working with another puncher and working with his style, and you've seen his work with Chris Algieri. However, based on loyalty, I don't know if this would ever happen, but I mean, I would recommend John David Jackson as a trainer. I think he's very underrated, and he's a former fighter, so he's been in there with Bernard Hopkins and guys like that. So it's not a bad look. I just don't know that it would happen based on the fact of loyalty, just like Canelo with the Reynosos. I think other trainers could probably teach Canelo a couple of different things, but based on loyalty, he'll probably stick with the Reynosos. Next part of your question, number 2, is there a possibility that Mayweather's requesting a bout between Thurman and Spence Jr. because in reality he wants to avoid fighting them, specifically Spence Jr.? Now, a lot of people have that notion, and I don't really see that for the simple reason. Keith Thurman and Spence, a lot of people are saying, what has Spence done? What has Spence done? He doesn't deserve a fight with Keith Thurman. So if that's their argument, and he doesn't deserve a Keith Thurman, whose his resume is going to be shallow compared to Mayweather, then that's something Mayweather would never have to worry about fighting Spence. Because if fans are saying that Spence ain't done nothing to deserve a Keith Thurman fight, then he damn sure ain't done nothing to deserve a fight with Mayweather. And Mayweather says, 1 fight and I'm done. We don't know if that's true. We don't know if he'll try to break Rocky Marciano's record. But according to him, he has 1 fight and he's done. So he doesn't really have to worry about avoiding Errol Spence Jr. because 1, he's kind of co-signing him, so they probably wouldn't fight, just like Broner said he would never fight Mayweather. And then number 2, if Spence doesn't, according to the fans, doesn't deserve a Keith Thurman shot, who, again, he doesn't have the resume and 19 years of history in the sport at a pro level like Mayweather, then that fight would never, he would never even have to worry about fighting Spence because, again, if Spence is not even in line in the fans' mind to fight a Keith Thurman, then he damn sure ain't in line to fight a Mayweather. So I don't really understand why people keep saying that. I mean, if someone can prove what I'm saying, like prove the opposite or give me a different outlook, I'm happy to read it. But again, if fans are saying that Spence ain't done nothing to deserve Keith Thurman, then he ain't done nothing to deserve Mayweather, which is the top of the totem pole, if you will. And then again, Thurman versus Keith Thurman. I mean, Keith Thurman's in the same, almost the same boat as Errol Spence because people are saying, oh, who is he beat? Who's he beat? Resume. So if Floyd only has 1 more fight left, it's kind of easy to dismiss both of them based on that. You know what I mean? Floyd makes his decisions. So maybe with Thurman, that's his goal, is to have them fight each other. But what if Thurman were to get past Spence? So, you know what I mean? There's so much you can take from that. So I really don't see Mayweather's requesting it just because Thurman and Spence is a good fight, and I don't really even know who would win in that fight. So what if Thurman beats Spence? Then he still has Thurman problems if that's what people are thinking. So I don't agree with that. Next question is from Ali Diego 619. Do you think Mayweather has the power to hurt Thurman? Simple answer, yes. I think Mayweather, people sleep on his power. I think his power comes from speed, accuracy. Sometimes guys get tired because he's so elusive and he jabs to the body and does different things to offset people when they get frustrated. And, I mean, you've seen guys like Robert Guerrero, who at the time when he fought Mayweather, he had 2 solid welterweight fights, and he's known for pretty much having a good chin. And it looked like Floyd Mayweather had him on the way out, ready to go. Same thing with Cotto in that 12th round. I don't know, a lot of people don't bring this up, but it looked like he had Cotto ready to go in the 12th round. And he just didn't take any unnecessary risk because Cotto, obviously a veteran and a dangerous opponent. You don't want to let him back into the fight. So to me, if he has the power to hurt Cotto and he had the power to hurt Guerrero, who is known as a warrior with a good chin, then I think he has the power to hurt Thurman. I don't know about stopping him because to me, guys like Mayweather and Pacquiao are guys who have moved up and they're fighting typically bigger men based on their abilities and skill set, but rarely are they the bigger person. The last time I really remember where Mayweather was really the bigger fighter would be versus Pacquiao. But years before that, he had been fighting bigger and bigger guys. So I think he has the power to hurt him if he can stop him, or if he would take the gamble to try to get him out of there. Who knows? But I think he at least hurt Thurman. I mean, Collazo hurt Thurman, so I mean, he's not invincible. He's not indestructible. So I think he could. It's just matter of kind of game plan and whatnot. Next question. Boxing Phenom 95. Didn't get to see fight, but if Collazo can land that time left to deliver, Errol Spence can do some damage. What do you think? Again, I think it's a good fight. I don't know who I would pick to win in that particular fight. Obviously, Spence doesn't have the best resume at welterweight. He's still in the prospect stage, but if he says he's ready, let's see it. You know what I mean? If Thurman can't get a bigger fight than Spence. But if he's going to fight a Josito Lopez or a guy like that, I'd rather see him fight Errol Spence, and I think that's more meaningful. And Spence is a great body puncher, so why not? And if, like you said, Collazo being 34 years old, Spence being 25, so almost 10 years younger, and he's an impeccable body puncher, then I definitely think Spence can hurt Keith Thurman and do some damage. But I don't know who I would pick to win. Good question. Next question comes from M1H Jan. What's your take on the way Thurman is handling his career? I think it's such a waste what he's doing right now. Acting up like he can beat everyone, but doesn't have the resume to back it up. Being impatient, even during fights. Doesn't want to build a resume, but feels he needs to fight the top of the division as of right now. Thinking bigger names will get him where he wants, while I think Spence will do more for him than the Collazo fight, especially in the world of boxing. Dan Birmingham going around saying he deserves an A for the Collazo fight. I mean, I get it. Dude has skills, knows boxing, and can hit with a good shot. But can he get the fights that he wants going on this path? Okay, now that's a very detailed question. I never heard about Dan Birmingham. I didn't see whatever interview saying he deserves an A for the Collazo fight. And if that's his standpoint, I disagree with that. I don't think he deserves an A. Like I said, I'm not going to be unrealistic. He was pretty much dominating those rounds, but he still has that black cloud because he got that hurt by a body shot, which can happen. But again, you put that unfair pressure when you're saying, oh, Collazo's washed up and he's a bum, and then we seen what Khan did, knocked him down 3 times. You get no knockdowns. So it is the way it is. People always are going to look at the negatives and kind of make these comparisons in boxing. It's always been that way. I like the second part of your question, being impatient even during fights. I've noticed that. I said it in my post-fight. Keith Thurman is so hungry and eager. I think he's doing himself a disservice, because I think he's very skilled, but he's almost fighting dumber than he has to fight, trying to prove something. And it reminds me of Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley in the Ruslan Provodnikov, he was mad. Oh, I'm getting death threats. They're mad I beat Pacquiao. I'll show them. And that was his demeanor. And you've seen him get hurt badly by Provodnikov. Whereas if he would have chose to outbox, I think he would have had a better showing. That was a fight of the year, but I feel it didn't need to be a fight of the year. You know what I'm saying? Ruslan had been fighting at 140. He moved up, and he made it a harder fight than he needs to be. And you look at Keith Thurman, look at the Robert Guerrero fight. He was fighting a southpaw, which head clashes do happen more with the orthodox and the southpaw, and he was fighting really aggressive. Like, watch round 1, he just came out and tried to bring it to. It's just like that pent-up energy, and that's probably what created that head clash even more so. Why it happened so quick is because he was fighting a guy who's a southpaw, and he's an orthodox fighter, and he was fighting them extremely aggressive, no filler round or anything. He just came straight to him. And I understand you want to punish him, but you still got to be smart, because what if you couldn't continue because of that lump on your head? You know what I'm saying? It's just that's a dangerous move. Same thing with Collazo. Like, I feel sometimes he gets out of his game plan, trying so hard for the KO, trying so hard to prove it. And again, when you're up with guys who, even like a Maidana, who's a veteran with a underrated resume, that is not a good look. You don't want to fight guys like that who have equalizer power and experience and try so hard to force the issue, force a knockout. So I agree with that, being impatient even during fights. I've noticed it. Sometimes it appears he's making fights harder than it needs to be, i.e. Timothy Bradley, or a la Timothy Bradley, because he's trying to live up to the hype that he built up about, oh, I'm better than Bradley, I'm better than Pacquiao, I can box. You know what I mean? Different things like that. So I think he's bringing some of the emotions into it. My standpoint is still the same with Errol Spence. It does more than a Collazo fight for me, even though Collazo has better names. I just think Errol Spence has no losses. He's fresher. He has the amateur pedigree. And again, I understand Keith Thurman is hungry, but I don't think his resume is light years beyond Errol Spence Jr. So if it's not a big name, then I don't see this Errol Spence Jr. as being a horrific option for him. Next question, Osvaldo Cotto. Hey, Ego, after watching Thurman's performance against Collazo, he didn't do as good as a performance, and I thought he would go and got hurt with a couple body shots. Do you think someone like Spence Jr. or Maidana could beat or give problems to Thurman with their body work? Now, I don't really remember Maidana being like a master body puncher, but he has power, so that's a good fight. You know what I mean? That's a close fight. Same thing with Spence. We haven't seen Spence tested, but he's a great body puncher. So I think both of those guys would be the best competition that he's faced in recent memory. The best names, in my opinion, for Thurman are Diego Chavez and Robert Guerrero. And then you look at it, Maidana has an improved jab. He has a lot of weight to lose. Make sure you check out the video about that. So I don't see that as being a realistic fight for 2015. But if Maidana comes back correct, like the Maidana we've seen in the last couple of fights, that's a dangerous fight for Keith Thurman because, again, like I said in the last question, sometimes I feel he's fighting with a chip on his shoulder, which is not good, especially against a guy like Maidana, who has veteran experience and might be able to capitalize, at least has equalizer power. We've seen Thurman hurt or clipped before by Soto Caras, guys that Maidana knocked out before Keith Thurman. So I think Keith Thurman needs to start using his skills to the best of his ability and fighting the fight that's going to win in the best possible fashion instead of trying to, I'm going to please the fans or I got to live up to this and that. I think he just needs to be a bit smarter with his skills because he does have skills. Next question is from Shady Slim. What does Thurman mean when he says Spence hasn't earned a fight with him? Did Collazo earn it coming off of a loss to Khan? Just a correction. Collazo did have a fight in between that and he did win by KO, but it wasn't against a big name. So I've stated this before. Spence is not backtracking to me unless he's going to fight someone like a Sean Porter or Kell Brook or a more established welterweight. So I'll leave it at that. That's my opinion. Next question comes from Popo Dr. Joke 123 shows. Do you think Algieri deserves a rematch with Khan? I would say no. I think both fighters can move on with their career. Algieri can determine if he wants to stay at 47 or move back down to 140. It was a good fight, but again, when you see those fights that are perceived as mismatches on paper or the favorite has a tough time, it's seldom that there's a rematch and it happens the exact same way. It's like that was Algieri's opportunity to dethrone Khan and he came up short. So in a rematch, I think Khan will be better prepared for Algieri. I think there was the element of surprise that caught Khan, that he was fighting so aggressive, which was something we never seen. So I don't really want to see a rematch personally because I think Khan will go in knowing, if there was a rematch, knowing that this is a possibility. It's kind of like Lennox Lewis versus Hasim Rahman. Rahman was taking it serious and Lennox Lewis wasn't. He came into South Africa late. He was filming Ocean's 11, different things like that. He was like, oh, who's this guy? And he got knocked out. And then you seen what happened in the rematch. Lennox Lewis set the record straight by knocking out Hasim. So that was kind of his moment of glory, to pull the upset. Same thing with Maidana Mayweather. You notice the first fight was a lot more competitive, and then the second was more what we expected the first fight to be. You look at Carl Froch, George Groves. George Groves did great in the first fight, and in the second fight he got knocked out. So I don't want to see a rematch. I think he had his shot, and I'd rather see him fight and both of them fight other options. That's just me personally. Next question, Boxing Phenom 95. Who should Broner fight next? And I hate to sound harsh, but I'm going to be 100% real. I really don't even care because the thing is, Broner is becoming kind of a nuisance where he's being more talked about stuff that has nothing to do with his actual fight game than the fighting. It's like, oh, Broner, he's shooting guns or putting a pistol to his head, a prop gun, or he's getting sued because this girl, the crab story. So, you know what I mean? I'm at a point where I'm just like, I'm here to cover boxing, not necessarily just a bunch of circus acts and outside of the ring type of stuff. Oh, he said Sean Porter in an Uber. and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't really care. But if I had to pick someone, I would say he should fight a lighter touch, not like a proven elite guy, because in the sport of boxing, you can't keep taking losses without being forgotten. So I think he should fight a guy like Omar Figueroa, who moved up to 140, keep him busy, a volume guy, a guy with some power, a guy who's tough. And if he can't beat a guy like Omar Figueroa, I don't really know where he goes. So I think that's who we should fight, a guy like that, not a Maidana rematch or someone who's a bit more proven, because again, if he takes one more loss in that short of a time span, people are going to start considering him even more than they do now a journeyman, because some people have already said he needs to retire and he's a journeyman after 2 losses. So he needs to guide his career in the most sensitive of ways, if that makes sense. Next question is from Eatman888. Amigo, Boxing Ego, why is Al Haymon so damn successful in getting, keeping, and pleasing his fighters? You even have Robert Garcia talking good about his treatment at an event, and he isn't in their stable. And I was actually going to make a separate video, but I'll cover this briefly, and then I'll still do that video. Al Haymon is going against the grain. He's being innovative with a lot of ways, like, oh, let's bring boxing back to a prime time. Things you didn't really see other promoters do. And I really feel a lot of other promoters, the nature of the business was to be cutthroat, and you seldom seen the fighter being taken care of more than the promoter, even if that's like, you didn't even see that perception. It was just like, damn, Mike Tyson's getting fucked by his promoters and all these people after Mike Tyson's money, and this person's getting done over. And the promoters in the past, and I'm not going to say any names, but promoters, all kinds of promoters, they were known for that, where they were like, it seems shiesty for the fighters, where the fighters end up on drugs and broke and different things like that. And for the first time in a long time, Al Haymon is treating the fighters special. Not to sound corny, but he's treating them special. They're getting good paychecks from it. They're fighting actively. They're on prime time. And people don't look at the little things, but you look at the Thurman Collazo undercard. You had Tony Harrison versus Willie Nelson, who neither one of them are big names in the sport, and their faces plastered on the wall when they were fighting, you know what I mean, with bright lights and stuff like that. That's a feel good for the fighters, because on other events, if you watch Triple G versus Willie Monroe and you see an undercard, like let's say Tony Harrison was on the undercard, you don't really see that. You're going to see Triple G's face plastered everywhere on the billboards and stuff like that, but you're not going to see the lesser fighters. But with Al Haymon, he's treating these fighters more human and more like actual fighters than I think some of the promoters have in the past. And he's making them feel good. Like, whether you're the bigger stars like Adrien Broner and Danny Garcia, or one of the guys who is respected but lesser known, like let's say a Danny Jacobs, he's still giving them like FaceTime. You know what I mean? Not the iPhone stuff. I'm talking about like promo videos and stuff. He'd be like, hi, I'm Danny Jacobs. You're watching PBC. I survived cancer. Or Sergio Mora. Like, these are guys who are used to being the undercard, or used to not really getting any type of spotlight. That's kind of cool for the fighters. Like, hey, Sergio Mora can say, check me out, I'm on NBC, I have this commercial, I have this promo shoot. That's fun for the fighters. So I think he's just ultimately treating them with more dignity than has been the case in the past. Next question is from surfing_PR28. Ego first able, I think that's first of all, you're the best YouTuber ever. I watch every video since I start with the YouTube hardcore boxing stuff. Ego, do you think Cotto Canelo is on? Because if they're gonna fight, I need like 4 to 5 month build this mega fight, and it's already July. And by the way, I saw a video about Lomachenko versus Rigo and who you pick at this particular fight, because Rigo has never been in 126 division. I mean, both great fights. In my opinion, from people I've talked to, Cotto Canelo will happen. It's not 100%, so don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure it'll go down this year. Rigo, Lomachenko, I really got to review tape in previous fights. I don't know who I would pick, because Lomachenko, I actually thought he had a little bit more power when he first came out, but he's still clearly way bigger than Rigondeaux. We haven't seen Rigondeaux at 126. That's a good-ass fight. 2 skilled guys with decorated amateur backgrounds. At this moment, I don't know who I would pick, and that's 100% truth. I don't know who I would pick in that fight. We've seen Lomachenko deal with someone with speed and Gary Russell Jr. Not necessarily the same exact technique as Rigondeaux, but he handled the speed well with timing. So that's a good fight. I don't know who I would pick at the moment. Next question Ray Martinez, hey Eagles, is it safe to say we won't see Maidana in the ring by the end of this year? In interviews that I've seen Robert Garcia, he makes subtle hints that Chino isn't as hungry to get back in there since the fight with Mayweather. A year minus plus is a long time to be inactive. If we do see a return in 2016, do you think weight will be an issue? Should he go straight into Thurman Porter type of fight or take a softer touch? As always, keep up the great work. Yeah, I did a video on this. Maidana's huge. I don't see him coming back in 2006 or 2015. I think he's just too big, and it's going to take time to naturally shed off that pounds without trying to rush it and kill himself. And maybe he should think of doing like an Andre Ward fighting at a catch weight type of thing. And the difference is Andre Ward, style-wise, is very technical. He always has a firm grip on the basics. And Andre Ward, I know plenty of people in his camp, he's a gym rat. Maidana is not known as a gym rat. So I think it's going to be even harder for him to shed the pounds because he's going to have to make a conscious effort to want to drop the pounds. Versus Andre Ward, I seen him in January. He didn't even fight till June 20th, right? I seen him in January, and he was already in shape. He wasn't huge. Maidana's huge right now. So, yeah, Maidana should probably start working right now to gradually take some of the pounds off. And I don't know that he should just jump right into a Keith Thurman fight, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see where those guys are at. A lot can happen in the next 6 months to the point where I don't know who he should fight, but he should start now in trying to lose weight. Next question, Bradley Tucker. Hey, Ego, don't you think it's strange how nobody is calling out Pac-Man? Keep in mind, he's the second biggest cash cow in boxing, has a lot of global popularity, and has a better chance of, and you have a better chance of beating him than Mayweather. Everyone is treating Pac-Man like he's an afterthought. I mean, Pacquiao's allegedly hurt right now, so that could be one reason. And he's been beaten before. He's been knocked out more than once. So I think it's still a bit more special for Floyd Mayweather because he's the trickier of the styles, like you say, and he's the cash cow. His events for the last couple of years have been the highest grossing pay-per-view events, and you have that rare opportunity to be the first to defeat him. So it just, to me, it holds more weight. Pacquiao's still a great fighter, but to beat the undefeated guy who no one can figure out and May Vinci code still means a bit more because of what it entails. Like, man, I'm the first guy. It's like I'd rather be the first guy to beat Mike Tyson than the second guy to knock out George Foreman or something. You know what I mean? Next question is Jose Cuervo. Looking at today's talent, I have come to the conclusion that no one in the welterweight division would have a good chance of beating Floyd. Do you agree? And if so, does that mean the talent of boxing has decreased or a testament to how great Floyd really is? I think Floyd's just an anomaly, point blank period. He's just very smart. He's smart in there. I mean, clearly a lot of the guys he's fought have been bigger than him, and we've seen him with different styles, speed, volume punching, and he finds a way to adjust and get it done. So I think there's a lot of great fighters in the welterweight division, but his ring IQ and what he brings to the table is just very difficult for really anyone. So I think it's more of a testament. I think there's other guys, because you look at it like this. If a guy like Canelo were to lose to Mayweather, which he did in a convincing fashion, I still think he can beat guys. You know what I mean? I would, like Cotto, he might be able to beat him. You look at James Kirkland, I mean, he's still beating guys. You know what I mean? So if a guy's not like far gone in their career, they still can beat guys. But when they step up against Floyd Mayweather, it's just a different league. And I think it's just because how smart he is as a fighter, his defense, and he's a complete fighter. But there's a lot of talent in welterweight. It's just I don't really see them beating him either. Some guys have a better shot, and some guys have a better chance to give him more of a run for his money. But ultimately, I don't really see any of the guys beating him. Like Pacquiao was supposed to be that person, and you've seen how he looked. Now put Pacquiao in there with any other top welterweight not named Mayweather, and Pacquiao probably beats them. If not, they don't beat him and reduce him to 88 punches. You know what I'm saying? Even if they did beat him, like let's say Keith Thurman knocked Pacquiao out, he's not throwing 88 punches. I guarantee you that. He would have to, it's not going to be like quote unquote easy work. Thurman would have to work to deal with Pacquiao. And that's saying if Keith Thurman can even beat a Pacquiao. That's my whole point. So Floyd is Floyd, and I think he's clearly the smartest and the best in the division at welterweight based on what he brings to the table. Last question, Cesar Garza. Thurman, Brooks, Porter, Spence are good, but for so much reasons, I'm finally 100% confident none of them can be the next Floyd Mayweather. What do you think? 3 people liked. And kind of like the last question, Floyd is Floyd. You got to look at it's hard to duplicate, or like Chris Brown, he's a good dancer, but he's not Michael Jackson. And a lot of it is not even just Floyd, it's timing. Floyd came up at a stage in the game where things were different. You didn't have as much social media. You didn't have people streaming boxing as much as you do now. So he also came up in a different division where people knew, like the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Ricky Hattons, and the guys he was beating, versus now we're trying to get back on track. You got streaming. So it's a culmination to me of different things why Floyd is what he is. He's a hell of a fighter. He's a skilled fighter, and he's like a once in a generation type of fighter. And there's a like I said, it's a formula. Floyd came up in the stage where he was pretty boy, and then he switched and converted to money made, and he was doing good during the recession. There's just a lot. So I think a lot of guys can take over, but they're not going to really fill those big shoes, because you look at like Porter and Spence. Solid fighters, good fighters, right? But who has the mouthpiece of Floyd Mayweather? Porter's like a real humble guy. So to me, he's not going to really sell the tickets. Like, you know what I mean? If Porter were to fight Ricky Hatton, he's not going to talk shit and build up the fight. You know what I mean? Adrien Broner was talking the most shit possible to Porter, and he was still being respectful. So that, you know what I mean? It's a personality thing too. Spence is kind of quiet too. We'll see if he kind of grows out of that. But yeah, none of them could be the next Floyd for a variety of different reasons. And that concludes Boxing Ego Monday Mail Day. Try to jam through all the questions, and tune in next week. I'll get some more questions. Let me know what you think. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.